recording, and we are live with book party number 3. I do owe Neil Creighton credit for sparking these book parties. He asked if there was some way that he could maybe promote a book on one of the Verse Virtual poetry readings. And I thought, wow, you're not the only one who didn't get a launch. Why don't we do something about it? And that was the impetus for doing this. So I'm glad to see all of you. I have, as of right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people scheduled, and I'm going to take 5 minutes myself at the end, which means that I have room for one more person if somebody would like to promote a book but did not sign up. I'm okay with that. You can let me know in the comments, and I'll add you at the end, right before myself. Meanwhile, the rules of the game are really quite simple. It's a little bit like speed dating. You have 5 minutes to show your book, promote your book, read a poem from your book. If you're fast and it's a short poem, you can read more than one. Your time limit is 5 minutes, and I'm going to time people just because I want this to move and be more than some of the poetry readings I've been to that are real slow. So that's how we're going to run this. And we are going to start tonight with Randall Bird. Randall, it's all yours.
Hi, my name is Randall Bird, and I'm from Missouri. I teach alternative school to high school age students who are in residential care. I guess they used to call them juvenile delinquents. It's some of it's drug treatment, some of it's parents in prison, parents deceased. But they're in the state's custody, a lot of them, and they go to their residential school, which is now on the school campus. But so I do that during the day, and in the evening I teach adults, help them to get their high school equivalency, which, you know, the GED is what they used to call it.
Okay.
But, and I'm moonlighting as a poet. I've got my, I'm trying to look in the camera here. I've got my book, Memoirs of a Witness Tree, put out by Karen Kelsey Books. The first poem in this, she was nominated for a Pushcart Prize, which was nice. And let me read you one here. I just posted, I had somebody that did a video that did a voiceover for me reading this poem in the voice of Morgan Freeman, which was really kind of cool. But I'm gonna have to read it closer to the voice of Kermit the Frog, since that's kind of what I sound like. But so this is called We Siblings 3. Attempt to add the hours we have shared. 100,000, maybe thousands more. Our paths conjoined for several years before we struck out on our own, and even dared imagine we would chase our dreams beyond the border of our joyful, sheltered lives. But now we live with husband and with wives in separate towns and rarely correspond, or so it seems, when measured and compared to neighborhood crusades we daily swore would never end. But we would soon respond to destiny. What from those days survives? That we still share a special sibling bond, though kept apart by long and frequent drives. So that's called We Siblings 3.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Would you, in the chat, please put your name, the name of your book, and where people can purchase it, since
Absolutely.
we are trying to promote books here.
Absolutely. You want me to do that right now, or you want me to wait till I get done here?
Now is fine. I will collate all of them and post them on YouTube under the video.
Okay.
All right. Next up is Ed. Ed, how do you pronounce your last name?
I'm a Midwesterner by birth and upbringing, so I say Ahern.
Okay.
And view Ahern as something from the effete east.
Okay.
And actually, I'm really tickled that Allison McBain is here, because Allison is the genesis and spark plug and creator of the book that I'm going to tout. I'm going to mention 2 others very quickly. Crosswind Passage is also a Kelsey publication, and for which I'm very thankful to. Dirty Handed Graspings is a prolific press whom I dearly love, and I recommend if you haven't been published by them. But the chef d'oeuvre, if you will, is Irregular Images, which Allison put together, created, corrected, and did other important things to. It's available on Amazon. People are still occasionally buying it because they send me money every once in a while. Not much, mind you, but every once in a while. And I will read a quick poem that is close to me because, as you'll probably recognize, I knew the person. And it's probably the only way he's remembered. And so it's important for me to read it every once in a while. It's called Digger. We called him Digger because when he wasn't too drunk, he dug graves. We called him Digger because he thought poorly and a dog's name seemed apt. We called him Digger because we needed to isolate his sickness from our own. We called him Digger because he smiled as his addiction betrayed him. We called him Digger because our help failed each time. We called him Digger because when he went missing, we didn't remember his name.
Wow.
Wow.
I like that. Wave, snap, clap. That was good.
As I mean, I know his name, of course, but it was, and he was one of the nicest people in the world, and it was just such a shame that he self-destructed the way he did, and amiably and destructively. So there's Irregular Images. All of these poems were individually published elsewhere, but if you know poetry magazines, you know they live and die in about a 3 to 5 year cycle. And I wanted them put together someplace where they might hang together for a little bit longer period of time.
Great.
So that's Irregular Images. Thank
Are
you.
you familiar with Tommy Emmanuel, the guitarist?
I am not.
He's an Australian, one of the world's master guitarists. He wrote a song called Digger's Waltz, which I will connect with you and find you some way to listen to. I think you would appreciate that.
Thank you. Oh, and incidentally, one of the things that we did with this, there was a graphic that showed trickling water off of this, and for some reason the artist also put in butterflies, which was kind of fun when I was promoting it online.
Great. Okay. We're going to step to another Ed. Ed, I'm going to just murder your name. Ruzicka?
Okay, I'm Ed Ruzicka, yes, sir. And boy, I was just going to do screen sharing. So you won't be able to see this because of the lighting. Nothing will come off. My Life in Cars. Beautiful photography by a friend of mine. Maybe you can see it a little. My Life in Cars came out in November, Truth Serum Press. I'm pushing my website at rpoet.com. I'm pushing it because I have a lot of stuff up there that I think is pretty lively and will get you into the book. I'm telling you that the book is a tell-all tale of the marriage between freedom and the American highway. My Life in Cars. And so I'm going to read, the first poem I'm going to read is, I thank you for having this. Thank you for doing this, sir. This is a great service. Whoever came up with this idea is brilliant, and I appreciate it. My first poem is Teen Ode. Those roads had given themselves up hours before. They ghosted howl, except for the rip of our wake. Mailboxes, milkweed, barbed wire. It didn't matter whose car we had, who was driving. Desire was the fuel. Highways were our veins. Cigarettes and beer were commas between the hours and the aching and the movement. Girls just as aching, broken dolls, pus from which women were emerging. We needed to let ourselves go within them, or they needed us, our needing them. We did need them, and little else but the aching, the emptiness, and the point of balance a star's sphere could reach as we gazed down from a rock above quarry waters, ready to dive head first again and again into darkness. And then the second poem I'm going to read is short as well. And this actual place in Texas, Woman Hollering Creek, just out of San Antonio, page 91 in the book. I should have mentioned that one reason I say at ourpoet.com is it's the easiest link to buying the book, Woman Hollering Creek. I pass over Woman Hollering Creek, headed east on I-10 at 80 miles per hour on a rainy Saturday, and wake up Sunday morning with an image of a woman with matted black hair on the banks alone, wailing about what I do not know, but loud and long enough that half the town and more must have stopped to listen. Maybe her grief was too sharp for anyone to want to intrude. Or maybe the better part of that county was some ways related to the woman's husband and just couldn't afford the complex burden of opposing him to give her sympathy, risk years of his crosswise looks, curses. A lot of those Lone Star buckaroos are hard cooked sons of bitches. So she stayed down below the flat, level land, its cattle, its sagebrush, mesquite, and a deep cut where rains run off. Sand, caked mud, she screamed, wrenched. The town listened and remembered, talked about it for years, even after she left. Went back to where it was she came from. Till finally, she came to own that creek with her sorrow. Still does own it by name, in a land so dry, so hostile, that many of the people there had given up on having feelings other than thirst or hunger a few generations beforehand.
Wow. Okay, Ed, in the chat, make sure that you put your name and your book's name and information where people can buy it.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for doing what you're doing.
You bet. Next up, we have a slightly different approach. Cynthia Anderson, you're going to be on next.
Okay.
And I will let you introduce the book that you're promoting.
Right.
It's all yours.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Jim. So what I'm promoting today is this journal, Cholla Needles 46. It's a monthly literary journal, comes out of Joshua Tree, California. And I was guest editor for this issue in 2020. So it's 100 pages. It's got great poetry, great photography, and it's only $5 and it's on Amazon. So I'll put the link in that. I know that some of you will know the poets who are in this issue, and I'll just run down the list there. From Southern California, Penelope Moffett, John Brantingham, Mary Fitzpatrick, and Ginny Short. From the Central Coast, Phil Taggart, Enid Osborne, and Maia. From Eugene, Oregon, Erica Goss. From Silver City, New Mexico, Beate Sigriddottir. From Sedona, Arizona, Carla Riedel. And from Phnom Penh, Cambodia, David Oliveira. What I thought I'd do is read 3 very short sample poems so you get a feel for what's going on in here. And the first one I'll read is by Erica Goss. And it's a true story that was passed down to her by her grandmother. And it's called Flash Flood. She brought the man to Landers, thinking to show him a place so strange he would stay. He turned his beautiful head this way and that, taking in the scenery. Then it rained, hard and fast, for 2 days. The land was torn and rutted, roads simply gone. The man's eyes spun in his head. He staggered across the sand to the highway, thumbed a ride into town, got on a ship to China, and was never heard from again. So, okay, the next sample is from John Brantingham. It's a short prose, and it's called Patton. After the hike, I sit on my bumper and change my socks, staring out towards where General Patton trained the tank cavalry for his war in Africa. A kangaroo rat darts under my van, but when I bend over to look for her, I don't know where she's gone. I think about kids from Vermont or Washington learning how to die in the desert in the 1940s. I dream about one who takes a rat for a pet. He tries to teach it to sit and names it Harley after his dog. I honk my horn when I back out. I drive slowly for a moment, my foot hovering over the brake. Okay, and the last sample is by Phil Taggart. His poems in this issue are all based on the Japanese sci-fi movie character Mothra, who maybe some of you have heard of. It was new to me, and it's a lot of fun what he does with it. So this is called Mothra, the Twins, and the Movies. The luminous twins loved the movies, flickering lights and shadow, and they were loved. Fantasy violence disturbed Mothra, but the twins are stars. The press follows them, record contracts. While on the Godzilla set, Mothra reads Silent Spring. Rachel Carson's book is alarmist, the director says. We have time to fix this. We don't, Mothra replies. We have nothing. Still water, pesticides, better lives through chemistry. Then we fade.
All right. Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, so that's it. I'll put the link in the chat. It's $5 on Amazon. It's really worth it. If I do say so myself, I think you really enjoy it. And just a little about Cholla Needles. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's dedicated to making print poetry books available and affordable to everyone. They publish poets from all over, so you might want to check them out as a place for yourself to get published as well. So thanks again.
Very good. Thank you. That was good. Next up, we will have David Prather.
I guess that's me, isn't it?
We hope so.
All righty. Thank you for including me. My book is We Were Birds. It's probably backwards, I don't know. From Main Street Rag Publishing in North Carolina. And I will read you a poem that I titled Taking Wing. Sunlight, starlings chatter in the backyard. They land, then start away, return, and then jump to the sky. This must be their joy, all of this coming and going and singing in short bursts, watching the single cloud add a slight imperfection to the sky. Yes, I said imperfection. There is a certain satisfaction in the word, It feels like jabbering in a foreign language and falling in love with every syllable as it stumbles over the tongue. From this window, you can see the neighbor's shed through the mulberry trees. Most of the berries are raptured away by the birds before the fruit can blush so deep and red and sweet. From that window, all light, all that can be seen is the hollow trunk of the maple that fell last year to the passion of the wind. And yet, if you move this way toward me, you can see out over the city, some empty windows, some graveled rooftops, some machinery that breathes like unfiltered lungs, and a calm blue haze that creeps around every corner. And look, a cloud has dropped its heavy shadow upon the backyard and all the backyards, up and down the street. Or is the shadow its anchor, its tether to the earth? Just over the hill, a train screams in ecstasy, stopping traffic to watch the slow throbbing pleasure of iron wheels on iron tracks. Don't ask me to tell you of happiness. I will only tell you something untranslatable, speak to you in whispers and moans, tickle your ears with nonsense. It is better if I show you. I will point to those birds, the starlings, and they will rise into the sky as one large congregation, leaving only their tangled shadows behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Put your info in the chat. And
Will do.
just a reminder to those who joined us after we started, do not despair. The entire book party will be on YouTube later this evening, as soon as I can get it converted and posted. So that will be, you can see the whole thing. Next up, we're going to hear from Jefferson Carter, who is a frequent guest at all of our events with Burst Virtual. Good to see you, Jefferson.
Let me unmute. I just unmuted. Yeah, I'd like to read two poems quickly. One is called Chair Dance, which is inspired by my love of Miles Davis. See if I can get it up here. Chair Dance. After 4 beers, I steer out of the parking garage, chair dancing to Bitch's Brew, the live version, what the liner notes call extraterrestrial Dixieland. And somehow I run a stop sign. At least that's what the motorcycle cop tells me as I hand him my driver's license. He looks about 13, his little face peering out from under the visor of his gold helmet. I'm glad my wife never uses cliches, never says, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, or every cloud has a silver lining. She does believe young cops target old drivers, an ageist conspiracy that needs exposing. She got a speeding ticket last week and swears the traffic cop wore his cap backwards. But every cloud has a silver lining. We'll attend defensive driving school, all us oldies bonding together as we raise our hands when the instructor asks, how many of you here consider yourselves excellent drivers?
Is that in Birkenstock Blues?
That's in the one before it, but
Okay.
I'm probably going to put, I have a new manuscript floating around, and this is one of the poems in there, if I can read that. It's pretty short.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. It's called Black Licorice. If I had a hammer, I'd trade it for a bag of black licorice, which, if you eat 8 ounces a day for a week, will kill you. And by you, I mean us. Why, just last month, a licorice addict OD'd in Marseille. My brothers and my sisters all over this land, a warning. Fresh raspberries roughly washed disintegrate like what? The love between you? These words from a famous poet? We must love one another or die. Words he revised years later to we must love one another and die.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure you add your book purchase
I will.
info in the chat.
And I might have to leave early because my son and his partner are here, but I'll stay as long as I can to listen. So thank you.
No problem. Next up, we're going to hear from Peru. Rose.
I have to unmute myself.
Yes, you
Okay,
do.
everybody, this is a book promotion, of course, shameless self-promotion, as we all do.
Absolutely.
This is the one before last. It's called Peru Blues or Lady Gaga Won't Be Back. And about 11 years ago, my husband, who is Peruvian, and I moved to Peru. And when you move to a different country, and you lose your autopilot, because normally you know exactly where to go, what to do, and what everybody says and how everybody sounds. And you see things differently. It's happened to me many times before, but this time I had the language. I could hear things as well. And so this book is in 3 parts in the idea of it: a social commentary, tourism, and nostalgia. And right now I read you the social commentary, or one of the things I saw at that time, or heard or read about. It's called Singing Their Dead. And the intro is, it has been estimated that nearly 7,000 people have died in the internal conflict in Peru, which started in 1980 and lasted until 2000, reaching into the present. Today, they are singing with high voices, holding pictures of their husbands, sons, brothers, remembered as they died, full of vigor and youth, hauled from their houses by men in uniforms before the sun rose on the Altiplano. Farmers, artisans, students, male children, but mostly young men, dangerously full of testosterone. Military or terrorists, they created their own monsters, says one woman. The women want closure for the most important mystery of their lives. They're singing in small voices, surrounding the mass grave discovered only a few months ago. Swaying skirts on sturdy bodies, ponchos, long braids and black hats, gnarled hands. There are no men left in the villages. Tears running down dark-skinned furrows. Empty eyes search the mountaintops, the apples, where God used to live.
Wow.
Thank you. And that was also published by Kelsey Books.
I've come to learn that Kelsey Books is a huge supporter of poetry.
Fantastic.
And
Karen is amazing. And I must just quickly tell you that I met her in Oxford, England, because we discovered that we would both be in England at the same time. So we met in Oxford in the most wonderful pub. And she is incredible.
That's delightful. Okay. In the category of shameless self-promotion, I'm going to promote my first book, which was published in 2016, and of which I am infinitely proud because in addition to the poetry, there is a lot of original photography. So it makes the book very visual as well as being verbal. This is the cover. See if we can get enough of that. And that's the title, Clear Day in October. Let me see if we can get enough of that to show you. This poem is called Waterline. Toad will think nothing of the constant hand that keeps the lilies clear, grooming the shading leaves and quiet water that all but guarantee progeny to infinity in the absence of plastic, of paper, of tin. Heron will ignore him, Think nothing of the clearness of the pool he fishes, bent only on the catch that glimmers near the shore. Simplicity, a long pole rake and canvas bag, brought daily to this pond, erasing the indifference of fast food trash and careless hands along the waterline. This book is available only from me. It is no longer in print, although I've been told it could be reprinted, but it isn't right now. But you can certainly get it from me, and I'll put the info in the chat and on the YouTube video, so it will be there as well. This has gone by faster than I had anticipated, and we have a bigger audience than I had hoped for, which is really cool. But that means two things. I normally don't extend meetings if we're done, but in this case, if any of the rest of you have a book that you would like to grab and promote, we have another 20 minutes or so, and I would be happy to hear from you.
Jim, I thought you put me on the list.
Who are you?
Skip Stevens.
There you are, Skip. I didn't see you. Skip, would you please do your book? I would hate to miss that.
Oh, okay.
Also, yeah, just let me say, I'm also.
Jim, I'm Susanna Rich. I would love to have a moment also.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is author poet
Phyllis.
Birdman. I would like to promote one of my books. I just been having a lot of internet issues. That's why I didn't say anything at first. But
Okay, so
also,
here's
yeah,
And if there's time, I want to read last.
here's how we're going to do this.
wait, what about me?
Skip Stevens. Skip Stevens.
Okay, I'm up. So
Phyllis Klein, in just a second, Skip. Skip, Phyllis Klein, Susanna Rich, poet Birdman. And we'll take those four, and then we'll wrap this up. Now we're ready. Skip, hit it.
Okay. Well, many thanks to you, Jim, and all of those who are behind this. It's a wonderful idea, the book parties. This book, Things Haven't Been the Same, was published by Finishing Line Press last February. And of course, that was the beginning of the pandemic, so I never had a chance to do any of the book readings and other promotions that we do. So this is a great opportunity, and I'm grateful for it. I'm going to read two poems. This first one is called Rumi's Field, and you might recognize the epigraph by Rumi. Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. I was standing in the field where Rumi said he would meet me. It was late and snowing hard, so I thought the poet might have canceled or decided to obey the turnpike warnings to slow to 45 and not crowd the plows. The flakes were big ones, dropping slowly, covering the spruce and fir that fenced us, me and the field. And I thought about a picture I saw once of markings in fresh snow where an owl had dropped on a field mouse, leaving the image of claws and spread wings. I began to wonder if I was in the right field, but he might be here already, the poet, just waiting for the right moment to drop on me.
And
Now,
poets
this
will do
second, the second poem, I was in England with my daughter in March of 2003 at the start of the Iraq War. And on March 24th, we found ourselves in a little Norman church. And somehow I realized, whether it was on that day or sometime later, that March 24th was the day that the first Elizabeth had died 400 years previously. So this is St. Ambrose Church, Titchbourne, March 24th, AD 2003. At Stonehenge, the sun's rays no longer strike the altar at solstice. So the stars don't always stay their courses. An English breakfast of fried tomatoes, eggs, and black pudding will remain in place long enough to get us through the morning. At St. Ambrose Church, where Sir Benjamin lies entombed, it's March 24th, 4 centuries to the day since the death of Queen Elizabeth. This night's earthly lord, except she was a lady. Names change as well as stars, and things are not always what we call them. However, we search for constancy. At St. Ambrose, where the dead hang on by virtue of polished stone, prayers offered centuries ago expand by virtue of a force that never changes, while over Stonehenge, the shifting moon may yet, for all we know, be where the dead stop a while when they've grown restless in their marble vaults. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis, are you ready?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, yours.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, nice to meet you. And nice to be here with everybody else. So, okay, so I'm going to do the little promotion. This is my book. And it's a poetry newspaper. So it has
Just slightly louder,
Moon,
please.
it's called the Full Moon Herald. It's a poetry newspaper, and it's got real news and personal news. So this is on the personal news side. It's set in sections like a newspaper. So this poem is in the obituary section. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good.
I
Okay,
can.
yeah. Okay. So it's called Phlebotomy, and it's for Jack Riddle. He introduces himself just before the needle. My name is Rodell, he says, after my dead brother, Rodelio. I offer my arm and the blood slips into his vials, too needed this time. My brother died at 3 months, he says, 50 years ago in the Philippines, my only brother. I don't usually watch the red liquid from my body course into the tube. Today, I want to see it fill up the ampules that will bear it to the lab. It is thick as the blood between these. Is it thick as the blood between these Asian brothers? I ask him, is there a reason he told me this today? How he couldn't have known about you, your also lost brother, the poem you sent me just an hour before. Your brother dead in the womb so many years ago. The brothers neither of you would ever have. Both of you only sons. Rodell 30, you past 70. How the two of you became friends through my blood. My blood on the way to the lab, coagulated into numbers of discovery, useful information, possible hope. Your brother's hemoglobin in your bodies forever. Blood brothers. Stories of possibilities lost in the dirt of death. Sports never played, careers never found. No teaching how to throw a ball, how to lose your homework. How you both live on in their shade, their voices whispering about what could have been. My blood on the way to its future. All blood transfused with the ways of our losses, our passage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susanna.
Hi, I'm new to Verse Virtual. I'm so grateful to be part of this community and to see so many faces here. Thank you, Jim, for all you do for us. Skip, just as you, I had 2 books published last year, which, there was no in-person readings for them. This is called Beware the House, and it's by the Poets Press. And there's a lot of Gothic poems in there, and essentially a theme poem is the thing where I talk about how the Addams family really was my family. So this is a poem called Playgirl. Like Loco Jones on How to Marry a Millionaire, my choosy Susie mother was always learning how to bag a millionaire father for me. That's why I supposed she stashed Playboys and penthouses under the red skirts of the studio couch where, if she was home, she slept. All that needing a father she said I had was why I had to be alone at nights, and why, while refilling my Cross fountain pen, I dropped the empty permanent blue-black cartridge and, patting around for it, found her slick cash. I knew it was wrong, but I figured if I was bad enough, she'd actually come home to catch me. So I thumbed open the centerfolds, laid them around me in a wagon train, a witch's circle of heads to butts to heads to butts. Here was Miss April, wearing nothing but long black leather boots and elbow gloves, touching herself with a whip. And Miss Yes You May, in a crawl-away pose, rump arched, red as a baboon's, and Miss Cherry June, her long, long tongue licking, actually stuck to the popsicle of her finger, as if it didn't belong to her. Fireworks July, Hurricane August, all those misses of the month, their parts bare, lips pursed or puckered or open, yet not. And balloons of bosoms pressed together like babies' butts into cracks, and nipples hard pointing at me and me looking back and touching them, yet not. If only I could have taught my mother what I learned from Miss Dingaling School Bell September, Miss Hello Weenie October, and the Spanks-giving twins, as we held and held and held and held our difficult poses, but together, that wanting alone and making believe won't hustle love home.
Okay, I believe that Poet Birdman is up next.
How everybody doing? The book I'm promoting is Words from the Heart. If you look at my background, those are all the books that I've published. It's 9 of them. I want to thank Sterling for giving me this information here. We do open mic and workshops at least every week. So the first poem I'm gonna read is titled Gone But Not Forgotten. Touched deeply by your life, not wanting to let go, but knowing I must. You're in my heart forever and embedded in my soul, touched frequently by tears of loss. I hold them as tiny reminders. They will not disappear, keeping them as treasures of your love, to remember you, sharing what we had and hearing only the constant echoes of your whispers. Wanting to reach out and grasp again, I'm filled with pain and emptiness. Walking away, leaving a little of myself, an empty gesture, not leaving anything behind, taking down the black curtains as I must still go on. And my next one, I'm gonna put where you can see my books at. I'm also put my YouTube page, because most of the poems that I do, also I have videos to them.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and because I live in Houston, it rains a lot. This is a poem I wrote about the rain. It's called Early Morning Rain. 4 o'clock in the morning, the rain begins to fall. I reach for the light switch, then hear the thunder in the distance. The clouds are clashing. The sky is lit up from lightning. The rain is pouring down. A cool breeze rolls in. As I toss and turn for a minute, I reach over, but no one is there. As I realize another night of being alone, I lay in bed, stark awake, listening as the raindrops pitter-patter on the ground, then hearing the rain roll off the roof. I look out the window as the clouds smile. These are the tears that were needed. The grounds are no longer thirsty while soaking up the rain. God is awake, doing his job, cooling the ground's thirsty taste. No one is bickering. No one is crying. No one is fighting. Peace is felt, if only for a moment. God can sit back and watch as his land is finally at rest. A voice in the distance says, son, there's no need to cry. I'm shedding my tears for you now. I'm here to make sure that you're not alone. I'm here to protect you from the devil. Go back to sleep. You can rest now. It's in my hands. I have quieted the land. Thank you.
Thank you. We have up next Sterling Warner.
Okay, just this week, my most recent, it's probably glaring pretty bad. My most recent copy of, or most recent volume came out. It's called Serpent's Tooth. Oh, you got your copy in the mail today?
I think it looks like this.
Yes, yes, it
It's
does.
wonderful.
Yes. Anyhow, I have a couple of short ones I'd like to read for you. The first one is called Inertia. I felt like a wind-blown apple, bruised, imperfect, beyond desire, most eager, waiting ready for kind hands to touch, cherish me for deformities, impressed by my figure covered head to toe in Egyptian tattoos and Heidelberg scars. Brushed aside like dust palls, swept under my bed every morning and night, I hum songs of sadness, each refrain denoting possibilities. Mystical melodies encourage dancing off beat to voodoo rhythms, finding a center among half-filled crates of fruit fallen and Dionysian fellowship assured. Well, thank you. And the second poem I'd like to read, I wrote for my brother who passed away when he was 55. And one of the final things he said to me is, Sterling, I always thought you would be first. And it's always been kind of haunting. It's called, it's a Habon poem called Virginia Valediction Revisited for David, my brother. Tan bark trails stretch out like splintered spiritual highways from DC Dulles airfields to Virginian hills, where ticks pepper arms and legs, digging in for corkscrew supper. These days seek measurement, refinement amid structured chaos, a cosmos aligned through promise, scientific certainty, seeking emotional purgation. The feral child within us all grasps for clues to clarify craft and lore, honoring heritage, suckling lifespan's variations. Gazing across glossy chocolate-covered waters, a pond where baritone bullfrogs set nature's metronome in motion. Buzzing June bugs quicken the pace, clicking, clicking, clicking. And the woods, the trees, the eastern seaboard song, cradle cries from lonesome memories, healthy heartaches, anniversaries that might have been, yet remain empty fountains, fragile, unexplored possibilities. Oh, champion ecology, resting on religion, David spirited like an arrow through wind gusts, arching, piercing, an emerald Charlottesville meadow. Exodus followed triumphant smiles, tortured tears, truncated courageous fellowships as his life's ripple splashed outwards, curled like circular embraces, moved away every direction, clutched for land, merged with twilight's chorus adagio, became one with the lofty landscape, still pastoral harmonies softly fading, leaving behind still water's wake. Motley colored leaves, nature's tattoos awaken memories past. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I'm actually going to stop the recording. But
Well, wait, let me get my book in.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Thank you, Jim.
You bet. So with stopping the recording, I'm still going to keep the meeting
I
open
see.
because I want a chance for people to say hi. Just a little bit of socializing, even though we can't shake hands or rub elbows.